All right, we're ready when you are.
Okay, we're back. I'm just gonna take roll quickly. So Jay,
Here.
Miss Minogue,
Here.
Ashley Scott,
Here.
Ashley Mathis,
Here.
Chris, Chris,
Here.
saw him, Miss Jordan,
Here.
and
Here.
Miss Moses, I saw, and then myself and Tiffany.
Here. Hi, everyone.
Hey, Tiffany. I think that's it. So we have a quorum.
Awesome.
All right. So the team will only be able to take official action if the quorum is present. Kim, you just confirmed there was a quorum present. So now we can proceed to our action item, which our first order is to approve the agenda, which is right here on the screen. Are there any changes? I would just say one thing I forgot about was if we have time, I'd love to get a quick update on the Go Team Summit. I know it turned virtual and we were without power that day because it was one of those snow days. So I don't know if we could add that as I know a few of the members joined virtually. So if we have time, maybe to just highlights of that.
I went to it, so if we have time, I'm happy to talk to you about it.
Okay,
Also,
cool.
you could replace the CCRPI piece with that. I don't have a ton on that since we spoke about that a little
Okay.
bit. So that can just be where you go, Kim.
Okay.
All right. Can I have a motion to approve our agenda?
I'll motion. It's Lena.
Thank you, Lena. Can I have a second?
I second.
Thank you, Ina. All right. Everyone in favor, please say aye so Kim can record our vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? All right, agenda is approved. We will now review and approve the meeting minutes from our last meeting. They have been emailed out to everyone. Are there any corrections from those previous minutes? Okay, I don't think we had any. May I have a motion to approve the previous meeting's minutes?
I'll motion. That's Hannah Moses.
Oh, thank you, Miss Moses. A second?
Second, Ashley.
Thank you, Ashley Mathis. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? All right, previous minutes are approved. All right, I did want to remind everyone that today is public comment, correct, Jay? Did we lose Jay?
No, he's saying correct. He's giving
Here, I mean the
Oh,
cracker. I'm sorry.
okay. Yeah, no worries. Eat
Thumbs
your
up.
snack. So we will have public comment. It looks like we do public comment after the principal's report. So just wanted to let everyone know that's online, that will be the time we'll be having public comment. And our first discussion item is to review our budget meeting schedule. And we're not voting on anything today, but we are going to get some information from Jay and look at the scheduling for that.
And actually, that is included in the budget allocation presentation. So that's good that's on there because you'll see the budget dates as well. So we'll review that.
Okay, yeah, that's all together. Okay, so I'm kicking it to you, Jay.
All right, great. Give me a second to stop my share. Thank you all so much for being here. I hope that everybody had a great break. Making sure I have the right PowerPoint up here. Yep. All right. Everybody had a great break, needed break, time back in school, 2-hour delay. We are here. We made it work. I'm a solo dad for a few days. My wife is out of town, but I was still able to put together our Go Team budget presentation at home. Put together my principal coffee talk presentation, which will be tomorrow morning. And even put together my multicultural night presentation, which was supposed to be yesterday, but we didn't meet, so we're going to do that again. Let me share my screen, and then I will get started. All right, so last Wednesday was the first day that I was able to see my budget. All of the principals came to our principal meeting, and we got what felt like a lot of like grim news, a lot of $100 million budget deficit. No signature programming funds are in the budgets. Loss of Title I funds if your school had it, and not losing it, but having to justify it in order to earn that budget. So there were a lot of people that had to open up their budgets into really, really big deficits, big reds, that kind of thing. And we're going to talk about our budget because we are in great shape. And I'll leave it at that. We're in great shape. So today, all I'm going to do is talk to you about our overall number. You're going to see how it increased or decreased from last year. It increased. You're going to see our projected students. And you're going to see a little bit of our staffing, how it's allocated right now. And then we're just going to have some discussion. That's really it. No voting or anything. Shouldn't take too long. The next time we come together, I'll have my plan for you. That's going to be what our school is going to look like for next year. We do have some people on the call. If you have public comment at the end, we'll open it up. It doesn't need to be super formal. Take 2 minutes, share what you want, and we'll move on from there. So let's get started. Any questions so far from Go Team? All right. A lot of these slides are pre-filled, so I'm just gonna have you read them, and I might just kind of summarize them for you. Okay. All right. So here's some of the action items that we've already done. Discussion items that are going to be on our agenda. Just to briefly talk about gifted. Nothing major about it, but it's good to have that conversation during our budget season. Take a look at our meeting schedule. We're going to take a look at our allocation and any reports if we have them. All right, so preparing for our budget, if you remember the last time we came together, we really did a lot of work on our strategic plan. We really kind of tweaked out all the verbiage that we don't use anymore, language that doesn't pertain to our school, things that just aren't relevant because it's been 5 years. The changes are outlined on here. We put more verbiage for math. We added things like Heggerty and morpheme magic. We talked a little bit about science and social studies. Talked a lot about staff recognition and mentors and wraparound supports and what that means. I think we had great feedback and we made these changes to our strategic plan, which we voted on. We also ranked our strategic priorities together in a great way to do it as a team, very stress-free. We were able to indicate kind of our highest priority and not our lowest priority, but our 11th priority of our highest priorities, right? We want to see reading growth, number one. Right? We want to see growth in math. Boom. We want to make sure our subgroups are growing. Boom. We were all on that kind of same path. And then I think as we got around to 5 and 6, we started talking about, well, hey, we don't have good teachers and we have engaged teachers. How are we going to get all this work done? So we started focusing number 5 on engagement and retention for our teachers, kind of making sure they feel valued and putting them in positions and places around the building to where they're going to thrive and grow and have those growth opportunities. So that was cool. And then it just kind of trickled all the way down to building culture through staff leadership opportunities, which is very important for me as well. So this is just a review. Don't forget, we added in things like science of reading, right? That was important. We had to add that in there based on a new House bill. Any questions around our strategic plan and how that looks? There might be a copy in here, but I just wanted to make sure that we knew our strategic rankings. All right. So in order to get to our allocation, we need to make sure that we're in line with our budget timeline. So we're just going to review and adjust our dates. Hint, our dates are perfect. They're great. They're approved, but we're just going to make sure that we have them all because that's part of our plan. So just so you know, we started here. We are all the way up right about to step 6. Well, we're actually step 5, getting the feedback. Okay. Then we're going to go, I'm going to take our feedback, present a plan, and then submit it to our cluster superintendent, Curtis Douglas. Once he approves and Go Team, once he approves, I have my staffing conference that basically says this plan looks good. You have enough money for subs. You want to hire this position. Great. We're going to post them. I bring it all back to you for Go Team approval. Now you might think, well, Go Team approval probably should come before all of it, and then I get there. But that's just kind of how it works. that I'm really going to have to get the superintendent and the district's approval, and then I'll come to you for final approval. But I'll make sure that everything we talk about is really in line with what I'm bringing to them. I put our dates below so we can just make sure we have them on our calendar. This is our budget. January 23rd is the feedback meeting, allocation meeting, really. February 13th can be our feedback meeting. I'm going to bring you the budget, and you just and tell you what I want to do with it, and you provide feedback. And then the 27th, we're going to come back to finalize that. Then after the 27th, I'm going to have some cluster superintendents, principal, HR. Then we'll come back in for our March meeting, which I don't have on here. But if anybody wants to type that date in or shout it out, that's when we'll do our final approval. So by March 15th, we need to have all of this said and done. Any questions? All right. All right, so on the allocation meeting, this is what you'll see. We need to take action and vote on these changes. Allocation, we have ours on January 23rd. We're good. The feedback meeting before February 14th is going to be February 13th, which is right good. Perfect timing. Right before the day it has to be approved. And then the approval meeting have to be after the staffing conference, but before Friday, March 14th. And my staffing conference, let me just make sure I have that, because that might need to be adjusted really quickly, because I feel like my staffing conference, it might be the 28th. Give me 1 second. Nope, that's perfect. My staffing conference is the 25th. Look at that. So then I come back on the 27th for our final Go Team vote. So all of that lines up perfectly. But we don't need to change anything, so no action is needed. Are we all good for those 3 dates? 2/13, 2/27? Perfect. All right, there is a little thing around the gifted delivery model for next year. I could have taken this out. I'm leaving it in there because I just want to kind of remind you all where we are. So right now, we're part of the collaboration model, which basically means that if a teacher is not gifted, they're working very closely with a gifted certified teacher. At first, I had all of our teachers that were either gifted or not gifted certified to work with Miss Kendall. However, the district said there's too many teachers that are not gifted certified that are working with her. So we had to kind of come up with another plan and show them that we actually have gifted certified teachers that are acting as collaborative teachers to those that are not. This model is going to phase out at the end of next year, which means that in order to serve our gifted students, we are going to need to have all of our teachers gifted certified, right? Or we're going to need to do cluster grouping, which would be like we put our gifted kids together, which we obviously don't want to do. Or we would have to do some type of pull-out model, our cluster pull-out, where they would come out of the classroom, for a part of the week, for a day or a half a day. The idea would be to continue to serve them in the classrooms, but we know that a need that we've had for our budget over the past several years, we've really reduced our gifted teachers. We only have really one lead teacher, Miss Kendall. Might be the need to get one more. That would mean that we could put one in each building. They could help with this cluster grouping or collaborative approach to gifted learning for next year, but then really start to focus on the pullout. But just something to think about as we begin to phase out this collaboration model. So so after next year, if you're not gifted certified, you don't get any gifted students, okay? Or every teacher just has to have that gifted certification to work at Morris Brandon, okay? Right now, it doesn't have to be that way because I have other teachers that can collaborate with those teachers. But after next year, everyone is going to have to be gifted certified, or we're going to have to figure out a model to where the kids get pulled out and served. And if that's the case, we might need one more gifted teacher. I know I'm putting a lot on your plate right now. This is not the most important thing in the world because we are still good for one more year. But I do want us to begin to think about this model and what this chart looks like. And I did share this with you all last time, but the teachers that are in yellow are going through the gifted certification process now, and they will be certified. The ones in green are already certified, and the ones in red are newer to Brandon, and they're all like first-year teachers at Brandon and have to go through this certification next year. If all the ones in the red go through next year and they get it, and all the ones in the yellow get it this year, we're actually in perfect shape. But knowing that we have a little flexibility with our budget this year, I want you to continue to think in the back of your head how we can continue to enhance gifted for our gifted identified learners at Brandon, because it is definitely an area where I feel like parents would be very happy with those changes. Any feedback at all around our gifted collaboration model? cluster grouping and collaboration and how that looks at Brandon, or how that might look moving forward with these new plans?
Jay, like moving forward, it would, if everyone is certified, it would really just be new teachers that are incoming. We will always have a time gap with those, right?
Yeah, we're always going to
Okay.
have to get them in and that kind of allot money for that. And remember, the other option is we increase our gifted teacher allotment, right?
Yes.
Like we actually, not ones that have homerooms, increase that, and then they just do pull out and serve our kids that way, which is another option, which I think our parents would also like. So I'm looking at our community and what their needs are. And if we can make that happen, that would be a decision that I think would be great. It would be to add an additional kind of gifted teacher if we're able to, either this year or next year.
What percentage of students are in the gifted model
Great
program?
question. It's about a third of our school, so about 30%, a little bit higher actually.
I'd like to also ask too, if we were, to consider another gifted teacher, I'd like us to look at all of the roles that we might need. So,
Right.
Like another Mindy Little, for intervention. I mean, what
That's
are the
important.
other roles like,
The counselor?
Counselor,
we also might need. So,
intervention.
yeah,
We still
intervention.
need some homeroom teachers, remember, because we're growing, right?
Yeah, so just want us to be mindful of the other roles that we also need. Uh,
That's very true because it's going to have to come from somewhere. Um, and I'm looking forward to sharing kind of my plan the next time we meet. But for now, you'll see the money we have to kind of play with and work with that. But that's a very good point, Ashley. We want to make sure that we prioritize what our needs are. And if we're prioritizing, wouldn't this be a great chart to prioritize off of, right? So we want to look at where we want our money to go. If we're looking to make sure that we want all of our students growing in ELA and math, we definitely need to increase our homeroom teachers. We might want to look at an MTSS teacher, right? That's like a Mindy Little, but doing it again because she is swamped over her
Yeah,
head,
she is swamped.
right? If we're looking for anything like I'm not looking through it all, but like WCI, like student mental health or wellness or that type of thing, we want to look at a counselor. If there's anything in here that has to do with extensions, number 8 does talk about gifted collaboration implementation. That's listed in our strategic plan, so that could be something that we allocate money to. I definitely think we pull it back to this chart, but you bring up a good point. No answers yet, but I like it.
Jay, I was just going to say real quick before we move on, could it also be something where, because it only takes 1 year to get certified, correct?
Yeah, it's about a year.
That like those teachers that are not certified that are coming in, their kids get pulled while others stay with their homeroom. That might just also allocate like to where one teacher could serve all of those that are not already with.
Yeah. That would be what we would have to kind of do is pull and serve the students or have them rotate in a win block to a teacher that is certified. Like that would be the idea.
Okay.
But we want to try and keep it pretty consistent. So one class is not getting their kids pulled out for gifted while others are in there. I don't want to have kind of, the comparison, but you bring up a good point. We have to kind of figure out a way to make that work. Exactly. So
Yeah, and then keeping in mind too, only having with the number of kids we have in our school and being 1/3 of our school is, in the gifted program. Our lead teacher now, a lot of her time is spent in testing because there is a lot of testing throughout the year. So she isn't able to provide as much support as she probably could, being that she's the only one that's having to do all the testing throughout the year.
all good feedback. And Lena was a gifted teacher at Brandon. She knows it so well, transitioned so great into our DLI classroom, but it really would be you're a good resource to have in this conversation for sure. How long did you teach gifted at Brandon?
Just like 2 years.
2 years. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, great.
Just in terms of making sure I understand like the net effect of how it was phrased, I think it was elimination of gifted collaboration model. So is the net effect the approach of having certain non-gifted certified teachers like kind of shadowing or teamed with someone who is like I'm just trying to connect that dot. Like what's the net effect of the change?
So the net effect would be if we were to change to moving away from the collaboration model. Anybody that would be in basically like Ms. Biving's class, like first grade DLI, Ms. Jones Dwyer, new teacher, Catherine Wiley. If this were 2 years from now, the gifted students could not be basically legally served in their classrooms. So we would have to take them out. What's the minutes, Lena? Do you know what it is? The service minutes for gifted? It's like 50 minutes a week in K2, and then 3-5 is like 60 minutes or something like that.
I
So
don't know the minutes off the top of my head, but I do know like next year it's the collaboration is like we can't do it at all.
is it next year or the year after next year?
I want to say it's next year.
Yeah,
Like
I
again,
probably should know that answer, shouldn't I?
yeah, I think it's next year. I think like that yeah, next year they can't do the collaboration anymore.
So then the idea, Chris, would be the net effect would be that if this were next year, students that are in the red classes here would have to be either pulled out or moved to a different classroom for their gifted service minutes for next year. We have ways of doing that. We have win blocks where kids rotate around. If we were to add another gifted teacher, it would definitely help pull the weight out. And like Ms. Moses said, we could do some type of pull out for those students. Do like each class gets 30 minutes a week or whatever the minutes are, 50 minutes, I think is for the upper grades. Um, so something to think about. The gifted department is on this. They have asked us how many teachers we still need to get certified. If we're talking about like a money net effect, a couple things to think about would be one, how much money does it take to get a teacher gifted certified? The district does it free, but it's hard to get all of them in there. So then we'd have to look at paying for them separately. And it's around, it's like around $800 for the year, like two $400 courses for gifted. Foundation has paid it in the past, but
Yeah, I
we
was gonna
also
ask
will
that.
pay it. Yeah, I mean, so it's not hard to get them through there, but it's a lot. You beat the system by hiring teachers that have gifted certifications. That's how you do it. So we have positions posted. Like if we're posting, I'm looking now for teachers that are gifted certified already. That'll solve the answer.
And we
What
also, I think, have a couple of years, right? Like if you're hired, it's not, you don't have to immediately enroll. I think, I can't remember if it's two
That
or,
was my rule, kind of, like I'll give you a year or two. I don't know if like next year they're not gifted certified. Like I guess they have as much time as they want to get certified, but they don't have time to have their kids in their classroom. We got to automatically pull them out day one. You know what I mean? I had told staff you can have 1 year in the school and then get certified because I don't like to pay for people their first year because if they don't return, then that's just kind of how it is. So good feedback, everyone.
one more quick question, Jay. After the IB evaluation this year, would that free up any of Sam's, Mr. DeCarlo's time at all to help with gifted?
Yeah, great feedback. I think it would. Sam can always help and support that. When you look at job duties and what they have to sign their contract for, he'd probably have a little bit of an argument around like some type of gifted if he wanted to. I don't think he would. But yes, we have people that can help support that. That's not to say I don't have any plans for Sam for next year or for IB though. So, we want to, these are all great feedback and
Just
things.
things to think about. Yeah.
Yeah, these are all things to think about. The good news is, and I'm just going to continue to say this, we are very lucky to have been supported by local and federal dollars on our school budget, and then more so than lots of other schools. So without kind of giving everything away, I will tell you, we have a lot of flexibility to get the positions that we need next year. That can be 2 third-grade teachers and a 4th-grade teacher because we need those, and a possible MTSS teacher, and a possible counselor. Okay. So we have money to do a lot of it. So I guess what I'm asking is hang in there, be patient, look at the budget. And then the next time I come together, I think that you'll be pleasantly surprised with what I'm presenting. Okay. You can read
But
through this.
sorry, one last comment, and this is just overall budget comment, is that, I did go to the Go Team Budget Summit meeting, and I've talked to the budget team down in the central office, and they keep on saying about this $100 million deficit. So my question to them was, you got to tell me how not only this year budget's looking, but also next year's budget, because maybe you'll give me extra money this year because you haven't quite figured out how to close that $100 million gap, and I go hire 3 teachers. And then next year you say, oh, guess what? We're closing the gap, which means you get whatever X dollars less. And now I'm stuck with teachers that I don't have budget for. So I was just, so I don't have any insight into the future, obviously, but like, we just have to be conscientious that like, if we hire someone, let's just make sure we hire them for the
For the
long
long
term.
run. I get it.
Because
We're
I
not
hate,
hiring somebody to lose them the next year.
yeah, because that's, I mean, and I give that feedback all the time to the district. I'm like, you have a 5-year plan, but the schools have a 1-year plan, and you don't give the schools insight into your 5-year plan.
It's funny you
To
say that
Kim's
because
point too, she
I'm
asked
like,
for the budget assumptions, which they should be able to pretty readily provide during the summit, but they also did not share those either. So it
Yeah.
was kind of
Both
a,
Ashley and I
missing
worked in
information.
FP&A at Coke, so we're all about long
hey, welcome to
range
budget
budget.
season, everyone. Um, yes, I hear you. And it's funny because as a principal, I've started living like almost year to year. Like if I have money, I'm like, let's spend it. I was
Yeah,
even at a
no, because
foundation
you don't
meeting.
get rewarded for saving money, but
No.
you
Yeah,
also don't get rewarded for planning ahead.
right. So what I'll say is this. Um, I see our budget being stable and strong for the time being for coming. I don't. This would be the year that I was very worried, and I'm not worried at all. They have completely moved a lot of the money back to the schools and into the elementary schools as well, into the non-title schools as well. For the first time, we were schools like Morris Brandon are seeing more money. They took money from middle and high schools. I sat next to a principal whose budget was over $1 million in the red. That's ones and six zeros. And they'll work on that. Like there's ways to get that, and there's ways to do that. To answer your question too, Ashley, did you know that $80 million, $70 million of our budget deficit is in teacher pensions, right?
Mhm.
Hopefully they talked about that. In 2027, that's the final payment of those pensions. It will completely drop off. So after 2027, they're saying that the budget will be like the deficit will either be no more or will be, completely cut in half, if not more than that. So if you're looking on a timetable, like we're very tight right now in the next year, and then they're supposedly will have more money after 2027. I hear you, Kim. I know you got questions about the future. Let's talk about Morris Brandon for now and for next year,
Yeah.
and we'll be in great shape. Here's our norms. Probably should have gone over this before, but this is where it was on the slide. So here we are. I think I trust all of you to respect all ideas and assume good intentions. Here's we are, the budget development process. What it is, and we're about to get in the budget. It's got to legally show you these slides. I'll let you read these. Remember, we're looking for alignment with those strategic plans, with that strategic ranking. And we're going to do it during this time right now. All right, this is my role. This is your role. Read it. One thing I like to say is we focused on positions and not people. It is easy to say people's names, especially if it's a singleton position. Miss Little, luckily we say good things about her. But we can try and say things like MTSS or support roles and things like that. But if you don't know all the roles names, I understand. One thing I want you to look at is this. We don't have a signature program line this year. We did not get any money for signature programming, but we have to justify what we want to use that money for. Okay, so we'll talk about that. We also have flexibility on some positions next year. Okay, flexibility with things like readers or leaders coach, flexibility with our IB coordinator. Okay, positions that typically in the past we have flexibility with.
Jay, what are some examples of signature programming in the past?
We got $340,000 last year.
Uh-huh.
And it is basically just put into our big bucket. So I could kind of go on and on how we use it. But this year,
Okay.
I'm going to talk to you about how I want to fund signature programming at Brandon to hopefully earn us some more money. One thing about signature program, which you're going to see, because I was very worried about not having $340,000. Every person that we fund through signature programming is still on my budget. So if you're funded, so like IB coordinator, signature programming, I was afraid that he would not be on there, that position would not be on there, but it's on my budget. Everything is on my budget. Everything is currently being funded. I can ask on top of that now for some money to help fund those positions, which will bring in even more money.
Okay.
And I'll show you what you can fund. I'm going to show you that sheet in a minute, Tiffany, and you'll be able to see what we can add money to. But like dues, professional development, world language teachers, 2 of them, since we have to teach world language, I'm going to fund them through it. Here's our updated strategic plan. I just put this on there. Probably should have been in there earlier, but you can see our goals at 80%, right? Percent gains we need to get. I think that's already. All right, here it is. Here's our proposed budget. Write it down if you want to. It's $13,433,953. You're probably wondering how that compares to last year. I'll show you in a minute. You'll look at our population. What stands out to you there?
It's higher than it was last year and projected to be higher.
Expected to be lower.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
decrease of 5 students. The budget number looks higher though.
A lot higher. I'm going to show you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wasn't it 10
Let's
something
compare it.
last year?
Good
Yeah,
memory.
10.9.
This middle column right here was what we earned last year. This is what we earned this year. Almost $2.5 million more in our budget. Okay,
Wow.
we're going to work through this. This is the difference between last year, all right, well, this year and next year, right? We're in this year's budget right now versus next year's budget. Guys, I tell you, there are people that were in the red in $1 million. We are in the green, like we earned $2.5 million. Okay.
So how is that with less
No
students?
questions. We don't ask questions on that. No, I'm just kidding. Listen, Dr. Johnson spoke to us about moving money back to the schools. This may mean one, maybe we weren't funded as well as we should have been in the past, which they also talked about for some of our schools, right? We didn't get title funds and or we didn't get big supplements to our school. Central office is being cut in half. Those salaries are coming right back to our schools. Additionally, is when you have high numbers, even though it looks like we dropped 5, we are still earning more money. And I'm confident we'll come in over 888. Right now we're at 917, but don't forget we have pre-K, so take 22 kids off of that, or 20 kids. We're at 897 right now without pre-K. So it's still showing us as about 9 kids less than kind of where we are right now, and still giving us 2.5 mil. Let's take a look at this allocation. Kindergarten base weight. What do you guys see as a change? Anything? Nothing really, right? We earn more kindergartners, right? Remember I told you the more kindergartners equals more money. Nobody in this district has 168 kindergartners. You multiply that times the base weight, which by the way, has that gone up or down? It's gone up $673 per student, so we get more money that way. Kindergarten, right? Times the base weight of 0.6 times the weight per student is going to give us almost $606,000 for our kindergartners. What was that? What did we get? That's $96,000 more than we had this year, right? First grade, take a look at the weight for first grade. What was it last year?
Yeah, it doubled.
It doubled.
And they're
Doubled.
higher for all the grades, and they're even including weights for older kids.
When you have 168, 157, 155, now we're getting the money like we should have gotten, right? Now the weights are up. Okay, the other schools that maybe had 30 kids had the same weight. We still have the same weight, but at least they're giving us more money for them now. That weight for first grade went up by 0.25, by 1/4%. Second grade went up by 1/4. Third grade, or 20%. Third grade went up by 20%. You can look at fourth and fifth. Did we ever get money for them in the past? Never. And when you have 142 fourth graders or going into fifth grade, we've never had money for, ever. It brought us $343,000 extra dollars.
That's awesome.
$283,000 extra dollars. Take a look at our poverty weight, right? Anything stand out to you on poverty lines? Just curious.
Yeah,
The weight's a
they're
little less.
expecting it to double, the amount of kids we have to double.
The weight's gone down a little, but we went from 88 students that are economically disadvantaged to 162. We doubled overnight, right? We're doubling. They're anticipating more students in poverty or economically disadvantaged, or there's free and reduced lunches. Okay, that brought us another 120,000. And we want to spend that money. Think about it. Okay, I got a perfect position for that. Oops. We don't get concentration of poverty because we don't have our whole school's not in poverty. We don't get that concentration. EIP about the same, right? About the same. The weight went down a little bit. Okay, we lost one student. Special education looks like it's going down a little. That's not our numbers. They just allot that for us, but I can tell you we have a few more than that because we've earned a couple positions. That's why the weight is so low. They don't give us any money because they're already funding those positions, remember? Okay. And then what do you see about gifted?
The weight's a little higher and we have more students too.
We have over $1 million allotted to us for gifted learners. And I'll talk a little bit about that because while they may not be gifted teachers, where are they in our school? Where are they? We'll talk about that. All right, so any questions around this? If you're wondering why our budget went up by $2,456,554 and we still lost 5 kids, this is the reason why. When he talks about putting more money in the schools, were you anticipating that?
No, that's awesome.
Y'all, when I tell you we're going to have the flexibility to do what we want to do next year, we will, and all of it. All right, couple other dollar amounts. Don't forget, this is this year. All right, this is next year. This is this year, and this is the change. What's the first thing you see?
No money for signature programs.
How much did we lose?
Almost 330,000.
Did we
Wendy,
lose
dang
it, Jay, or is it just planned separately?
Say that one more time.
Did we actually lose it, or is it? I thought they just asked for it to be planned like separately so they can see across the board if there's similarities.
Yes, good question. We didn't lose it. It's just not in the budget yet. So then we're going to have to justify how we want that. Here's something to think about, though. We had $330,000 last year in signature programs.
But yeah, we're getting more per
We
student.
didn't even get signature programming money, and we have $2.5 million more already. So that signature programming line is not that important right now. That makes sense. That $350,000 is important. I want that money. Be a nice yearly salary, but it's not the biggest deal when we're already doing so well with our budget. Okay. Other things to think about: no turnaround money. We're not a turnaround school. No title holdback. No family engagement. We did get our. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was skipping ahead. I was looking at the dual campus supplement.
Yeah. So we got our security grant is in there. Going to get another 45,000. That's going to go higher, by the way. And I'm spending the heck out of that money. If you guys want to know how we're using it, we got lighting coming, increased lighting. We got our Zero Eyes going live tomorrow. And I got I got guys fixing our fences too. All right, field trips. They gave me some money for field trips, which will sit in there that we can use. Okay. Some of those fund our CEP trips, the ones that the school sends us on, and we pay the buses out of that. Dual campus, what went up? Look at that. We got another $50,000 for having 2 campuses. You know why? Because that PC is blowing up. Because they're at about 75, 80% capacity, if not higher, close to 90 really, which is good. Stipends, we lost a little bit on our stipend money, but that's okay. And then everything else, we don't really get anything. And that's the total FTE allotment for these programs that are above that we're going to see next. The FTE are people. That's 31 and a half people that are costing us this much money. Okay.
That flex line, it's like 132,000.
Yeah, that's a good question. The flex was money they gave us last year that we could use however we wanted. It was like a little budget they gave us, which we just don't have this year. We do have a reserve this year, which is not in here. I'll show you that. But flex was like, hey, we're giving you this month. You can use it however you want. It was actually a different template. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good call out. All right. I'm going to talk about this tab. You're going to see 3 things. A little confusing because I don't have it on all of them. So you need to think of the words earned, funded, and staffed. That's really it. Earned, funded, and staffed. Okay. If it's earned, it means this is what the district gave me money for, and I have to spend it that way. If it's funded, it means it's in my account. Make sure I can use it however I want. Okay. Staffed means that's how I'm actually staffing it at school. Right now, Just so you know, I'm going to go through our initial budget template. So no changes have been made on it. So you're going to see really how we're staffed right now based on the positions that we've earned. All right, so I'm just going to walk you through this. This column right here in the middle is earned. This column right here is funded. This column right here is staffed. For kindergarten, I didn't earn any kindergarten teachers. They didn't say, here is $1.1 million. You have to staff 8 teachers. I took the number. I staffed 8 teachers. Or I'm sorry, I was funded for 8 teachers, like in budget. And that's how many I staffed. So there's no difference. Okay. Just this is not a super confusing. It doesn't need to be that way. But I want to show you. First grade, funded for 7. I staffed 8. Okay. Second, funded for 7. It says I staffed 6. Difference is 1. Why might you think that? Because remember, not everybody is coded as a first grade teacher. I have EIP teachers that are also in first grade. So they're not going to show up as a first grade teacher. That's why I have to be strategic. But I can tell you right now, I have 8 teachers in K, 8 in first, and 8 in second. Second grade right here, I'm staffed for funded for 7. They said I could basically be okay with 7. I have 8. It's showing that I only have 6 because 2 of those are EIP teachers that I put in there. Okay. Just some little things to think about. Fourth here, it looks like I'm only funded for 4 fourth grade teachers. I've staffed 5. There's actually 6 because one of them is an EIP teacher. Okay, this is based off of our numbers. And then 5th grade, I'm funded for 5 and I'm staffed for 5. Okay, just something to think about. Let's go down a little bit though. For ESOL, I earned 1 ESOL teacher. That means the district gave me money and I have to match my earnings. So I earned 1, I'm funded for 1, I'm staffed for 1. No issues. We need to make sure this counts. I earned 4 interrelated teachers. There's actually more. I've actually earned more than that, but on this line, there's 4. I need to make sure it matches, and it does. Down here, I've earned 2 autism teachers. I'm staffed for 2. I'm equal. There's no difference, and so forth. Special ed lead teacher, school funded. They had to create this line for me because I'm the only school that funded a special ed lead teacher 0.5. I didn't earn any extra, didn't earn any, but I'm staffed for 5 and that's what I'm at. Okay. I'm going to go a little faster because I got a lot to get to. I want to bring this to your attention right here. I'm staffed for 8, I'm funded, earned 8 special education paras. I'm currently staffed for 11. I need to lose 3. I must match the allocation. I need to go on my template, find 3 special ed paras by seniority, cross them off, and those are 3 abolishments. We're not going to get into that just yet, though. We'll talk about how that looks. Okay. Nothing else I earned, but this is how I'm staffed. Got 1 principal, got 2 APs, got a bookkeeper, and I have another AP because they're on a different line item. But this is just basically showing you where we're staffed right now for our building. Not a ton you need on this, and a lot of principals are taking these slides out, but I want you to know. Here's one to think about. Look, I'm funded for 2 counselors. How many do I have? 1. Difference of 1. That's okay. Something to think about. Funded for 2 media specialists, and I earned 2 media specialists. When you talk about APS money, local and federal dollars, we want to thank our taxpayers for continuing to fund media specialists, right? Those are in there. They gave me money for 2. They gave me money for a instructional coach. 1. Okay. That's actually not. That's Readers Are Leaders. That's a Readers Are Leaders coach. I have that. Good. We're still funded for 2 nurses, right? 2 nurses are on there. We wouldn't want to lose funding for those. Otherwise, I'd have to find the money for them. That's great stuff. Funded for a social worker. We don't want to have to find money for social workers. If I were to lose that, which I was concerned about, I was thinking we'd have to find money to keep these people, but we don't, right? All right, keeping going. This is my signature program coach, IB coordinator, funded for 1, staff for 1. World languages teacher. I have another one somewhere else on there. That's why we have 2. I have 1 SST MTSS interventionist, and I'm staffed for 1. Didn't earn any more, but that might be a position we want. And then these are just some of the other lines. Custodians I've earned. Psychologists, 1.5. I had a difference of a 0.25, so I had to actually add a 0.25 psychologist on there. School resource officer. Look, there they are. 2 resource officers. Got to hire them now. They're on there. Got to find them. Okay. 2 site managers. How great is that? Now we have one in each building. All right. Okay, pre-K and K got funded for those. Great. Got to match my pre-K K team. And then these are our food people. Okay, these are my other 3 special ed teachers. They're on there too. I wanted to show you a little bit about the staffing. This is basically where our staff lies right now. Okay. A couple other things. I have a non-staffing tab. This is where we have to move some money to get through the year. I'm going to explain this to you. This column right here is what they recommend, and this is what money is in there. Basically, they gave me $33,000. That was already sitting in there. I can't touch that. Recommend I put $44,000 in teaching and other supplies. They recommend I put some money in media. Can you see this top line up here? Where does it say? Because I can't see it. Does it say reserve?
Allocation.
Does it say reserve?
Yeah, recommended allocation difference.
Do you see a reserve up there with the money, a dollar amount?
Yes,
No.
193,633.
I can't see it because it's blocked, chopped
Oh,
off.
at the very
What's the total?
193,633.
We're getting that $193,000 15 days in the school year, right? We got to hit 888 kids, which we will hit, right? So now we've got $2.5 million over the budget. We can earn this reserve 15 days in. I got to make sure I have money funded here. Okay. I got my stipends already in there. I already have $120,000 in substitutes. It's a whole teaching position. They put that money in there. Okay. All of that to say is that we're in pretty good shape. Y'all, we're in really good shape. We really are. I'm going to make a budget proposal to you all that's going to hit upon everything that we need at our school and more. And I feel confident around giving every student what they need to be successful. It's in our mission and vision. And I'm just happy that we are not having to cut, but we are going to be continuing to grow and gain as Dr. Johnson and his committee have moved more money back to our elementary schools and our big elementary schools too. Okay. Let me hear your thoughts because it's already 4:20.
We'll submit, do our process with feedback, but do you submit it before they let you know about the signature allocation? And again, we're in great shape with or without, but it would be nice, obviously, to have it. So I was just wondering when do we find out?
Great question. That leads me to my next slide. So that's actually a great question.
Okay.
Let me go to that because I don't actually know how signature program is going to work. By the 31st, which is next Friday, I have to have that tab completed on how I want to spend or what I need for signature programming. Now, here's the thing. Remember, we don't really have anything. We're not in the red, so we don't need to have a position funded in order to keep it. But we may want to ask for the money so we can have more money to begin to do the initiatives that we need, right? So let me show you, this is what they're talking about here. It's called a zero-based budgeting. It's a budgeting process that allocates funding based on program efficiency and necessity. If I can get signature program to fund our world languages teachers, that will totally help funding other areas of our school like gifted, creating another position, DLI, like little things like that will all have a trickle effect. So while it's not necessary for them to fund world languages to have a program, it's necessary for them to fund world languages for us to do other things that we need. This is what I have. This is what the template looks like. These are things that you can use your IB money for. And IB specialists, coach, orchestra, para, world language support teacher, world language teacher. What I have done is I've gone ahead and had them and put 2 world language teachers. That's our 2 French teachers. I put $8,000 for our dues because every year you have to pay IB $8,000. And then I put $40K for our professional learning, which our foundation also helps out with. Remember just a few years ago, I'm sorry, I'm just going to show you this one more time. We had $330,000 for signature programming. So that's kind of where we want to be. That was last year. Where are we this year with it? 260, 3 plus 50. I mean, it's right around 305, right? $310,000. I'm hoping they say, you know what? That's great. We're going to fund it. We're going to give you, and they're going to give me that money. And then we can work backwards on some more flexibility in areas that we need. Okay. I did the rationale here. Fund 2 foreign language teachers to continue to satisfy the IB requirements for a language immersion program. There is a proficiency model that we have to stick to in IB, and you have to have world languages to be an IB school. So why not have them fund that? And then I put this on here, maybe an additional gifted teacher. This is just a thought. In order to better support our gifted identified learners and to support a transition, we could potentially use that money for that. But notice how I cannot allot for a gifted teacher just right on here. That's not one of the options. You kind of have to work backwards. All right. All right. I know I gave y'all a lot. Long story short is just know how much money we have and how much more we have than last year. As the community begins to talk and ask and have questions, we will listen because we are in a great place to begin to build out our school with needs that that we want, needs that we've always wanted. The collaboration ends 26-27, by the way, not 25-26. We have one more year. Okay. All right. So we're going to vote before February 14th. We're going to have on the draft budget. I'm going to have my meeting with the superintendents, my staffing conference, and then we'll do our final approval then. Okay. That's kind of how it'll work. Any questions real quickly around the budget or anything that I can help to answer? I've done this a few times. This is probably the best I felt around getting us what we need. Okay. Especially during the pandemic and all that other stuff. So just know that if we need MTSS, if we need a counselor, if we need 2 third-grade positions, if we need a 4th-grade position, and if we need a gifted teacher, I probably can figure out a way to get all of that. Okay.
Jay, I know that we are getting more money. Like, so that's great. Why? And I know the why in terms of some of the different factors and stuff that are driving the math, but like why is it that there's more money available? Is it a shift from?
Well, that's a great question, Chris. I don't know if my pay scale ends right here and starts out elsewhere. I can tell you this, Kelly Shields is on. She's definitely familiar with the budget and how that works. Or I saw her on. And if she wants to talk during public comment, maybe she can speak to that. All I can say to that is, Chris, is that there are schools that were funded and very overly funded and very heavily funded over the past several years that maybe were being funded on top of what they should have been. They're too small, very small schools, 200-300 kids that were getting a ton of money to stay open. And I think that the conversation is going to start coming around is how we can collapse some of those schools. So all I can say is I do think that the money probably it's coming back to where it should be. The schools that are bigger, the schools that have more students, that are growing, that are showing the results. I just don't have all those answers. I was surprised as well.
So
It's
got
like
it.
a
So like
reorganization, right? Of how they allot.
It was a
A
reorg.
reorg and then money coming back to the schools
The
because
bigger schools, right? So they went to zero-based budgeting. So historically, you kind of started with the budget that you had. And if you go to the budget meeting templates that APS has done, they were like 30 schools that per student spending was double what Morris Brandon was spending per student.
And we were actually the
Had
lowest.
schools
We
that
actually had
had
the
like
lowest.
200 kids, right? So
Right.
Chris, they kind of, I'm impressed because he came in saying, I'm going to look at this and we're going to do it differently, right? And
He did
I
it.
feel like he did. And I'm not saying those small schools shouldn't get money, but zero-based budgeting starts at zero and you build your budget up.
Yeah, Kim's on
cool.
the finance committee for the APS stuff, so she has insight into that.
Well, I just like listen in because I'm very interested in how they think about it.
Try to get somebody on the phone at central office though right now. You won't be able to get anybody. I don't know if there's what's going on. No, I'm just kidding.
No, Lisa's pretty good. She'll email me back.
No, there is definitely people that are helpful. What I'm saying is they definitely had to cut some positions.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That's
I
a
haven't
lot of
bothered
work. And he was
anyone.
never shy to say that, So people that I've called and passed, I'm like, oh, they're not there anymore,
Voicemail.
Yeah, voicemail. All right.
So Jay, with this, do we need as Go Team members to kind of meet with you individually or in teams just to kind of give you feedback? And then you're
Good
gonna,
question.
at the next meeting, which is the 13th of February, you're gonna propose
Right.
budget.
So
right?
you're welcome to do that. So having these little one-on-one meetings with me, like I know I'm meeting with Kim around a couple things. I talk with the teachers all the time, like Moses and Jordan and things like that. If you want to meet with me to talk a little about what your thoughts are, I'm happy to. But knowing what our strategic plan is and knowing our priorities that we've ranked, we should all very much be in line with kind of what we're looking for. Um, but one thing I will say is, and I always have to say this every year, the principal does have the sole decision for making a budget decision. But I never rest on that. And I always want the Go team to understand my decisions. And if at all possible, just understand it. But typically they'll back it up as well. So we're all on the same page. So if you want to schedule with me, I'll talk to you a little bit offline about what my thoughts are, but please tell me your experience and what you're hearing from the community and want to meet with me about it. I'm happy to, because our next meeting is, who wants to call it out? You might remember
February 13th.
February 13th. So I've got one, two, it's about 3 weeks until our next meeting for me to hash all this out and kind of present a plan to you. So it's a good time to meet with me. Okay. All right. Declarations are open. I don't know if you know this, but we have one parent and one teacher spot open. Okay. Ashley is rolling off, but she is eligible to rerun and she has my full endorsement. So I need y'all to convince her to go ahead and run, and then we'll get it out to our parents as well. And then I believe Lena is rolling off, and we'll miss Lena. And you did a great job, Lena. Now it's your job to convince another teacher to be on. That's how it works.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Anyways, I do want you to share this. Go ahead. Did you have something, Ashley?
Well, I was just gonna say, no pressure, Lena.
Yeah, no pressure. Find the next teacher. Volunteer them. No, but let's get some good parents, people that are collaborative, that know our school, know our vision, and are engaged. I'd like to hear from parents that are engaged, that are at our meetings, that know, that listen, that So if Ashley, for some reason she doesn't want to run or doesn't have a vote, then we get somebody that does. But I'm confident you can win, Ashley, if you run again. So please do. I do need somebody to send this to the B mail. So Kim, if you can get one of this is probably in the APS update. If you can get that out to the B mail, I'd appreciate it. All right. I think we did our question. So what I want to do now is I want to open up to any public comment. We have a few people on the call that are not Morris Brandon Go team members. So if you're not, just raise your hand like via the app, or come off mute if you want to say anything, and you can have 2 minutes. Kelly, come on, I got you. I'm starting your timer, Kelly.
Thank you for my 2 minutes, Jay. Hi, everyone. I'm sorry to be popping in and out of the meeting. I'm traveling today for work. I would like to add to the context around the budgeting process. For those who don't know, I spent 10 years in the KIPP network, most recently as the CFO of the schools in Atlanta for the KIPP charter schools, and follow the budgeting process closely. My understanding of this year's budgeting process, it is a fixed path, and the APS board aims to create a formula that honors multiple different priorities, whether those priorities are signature programs or not, whether they are, students with special needs or not. And so I think the Brandon budget allocation is wonderful for my children and our students at Brandon. And I know that means that there are some schools in the district that are seeing significant declines in their funding. One of the places that schools lost funding or schools who have a higher poverty rate, especially if you're like a whole school poverty rate. It was just a value that the board members and Lisa Bracken were proposing to defund in their allocation. It doesn't personally align with my values. I do believe that our students with highest needs, in terms of being historically underserved and living in historically underserved communities, should receive more of our public funding. But I'm not part of that decision-making team, but I just wanted to add that context for everyone here as you're talking about this budget. Like there's not everyone is a winner this year and any year. And this is a result of pulling lots of different levers. You'll see in the formula, there used to be a supplement for small schools and large schools, right? So it's like you're trying to, and you probably know this as leaders, there's lots of different opinions, positions, and personalities that you're responding to. And I think the APF funding formula has tried for a long time to respond to many of them in a way that probably waters down some of the priorities or, taking a firm stance on one single priority or direction. So when all schools get SROs, it means that schools are getting less in their base rate. Would you rather a guaranteed SRO or more autonomy around your decision for personnel, right? So it's just an allocation decision choice, and I'm grateful that Morris Brandon looks like it has more funding this year, and for the opportunity for our Morris Brandon kids. So hopefully that is helpful. I'm going to wrap my time. I'm sure I'm over 2 minutes because I'm Kelly Shields. Thanks all.
Hey, thank you. You're only over by 30 seconds, but it was good stuff, so I didn't want to cut you off. But thank you for that. I do just want to tell everybody, she was right that we did, a lot of schools did lose their title funding. That's their, their federal designation or their dollars for having, free reduced lunch or high economically disadvantaged students. But they can also justify and earn that money like we do signature program. So on their tabs, they can also go in and justify and ask for a certain amount of money. So the idea is that it is zero based, but that they can actually earn some of that back as well, kind of like us with signature programming. But if you're IB and you're also title, that's a lot of funds that were lost. So I understand kind of where she's coming from and some of the struggles the other schools are having. Is there anybody else that would like to share or come off mute or say anything? I'll give it about 10 seconds. I'm looking at our list here, and I think most other people are Go Team members. So that's all I have today, guys. I'm happy to respond to any emails you want to send. You can send me, ask some questions, pick some holes, tell me where you feel like money should be allocated, schedule a one-on-one with me. It can be on Zoom or in person. And then I will bring my budgeting plan to you in 3 weeks for an initial vote, for an initial look. And then we will go back to the drawing board for a final vote at the end of by March 15th. All right. Ashley, I'm going to hand it back over to you.
Yeah. Anyone have any announcements? I know NAPS does have an announcement that we are doing our IB program information night on March 11th. It is going to be at Garden Hills Elementary School. So it's a great opportunity to come hear from the North Atlanta IB coordinators, from former, current students about that program and why it makes our cluster so unique.
I will plug, I have a principal coffee talk tomorrow morning at 10, and it's literally like our last 2 Go Team meetings. So I'm just telling y'all you don't have to go. But if you do go, it's a lot of the stuff is going to be probably reviewed. But I always update Go Team first, and then I'm going to release it. So they're going to look at winter map data, our strategic plan, kind of where we are with those goals, those targets, and then a little bit about our initial budget. So that's tomorrow, just so y'all know.
Awesome. Anyone else have announcements?
I'll just say for the Go Team Summit that went virtual, it was a good session. It was they had to put it together so last minute, so I felt so bad for them because a little bit was just, not flowing together right. But there were a couple good sessions, especially one with like data insights. And it's all recorded on the APS Go Team website. So I think you can look at by session. So if you're ever interested in going back, and then they also gave good information on who to contact if you have a question. So if you are looking for someone to contact, they did give out some names and email addresses.
All right.
The only thing I'll add to that is that they did mention in regards to feedback they received from the community meetings, for the next round, they will focus more on grade bands, which I thought was interesting because elementary schools have different concerns and community feedback than perhaps like high school or middle school. So they did mention that as well.
All right. I think we've reached the end of our agenda. Any other additional business? All right. Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll motion to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you, Ashley. A second?
Second.
All right. All in favor, please raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so 4:38, our Morris Brandon meeting is adjourned. Thank you all. Stay warm, and we will see you all soon.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.